Welcome to my channel, Rylski Realty, where you keep it real with Rylski about all things real estate. Hey everyone, my name's Krysten Rylski, your local real estate agent with eXp Realty servicing the Belleville, Quinte West, and surrounding area. Today, I'm sitting here with Dustin Patterson from Primerica Financial Services, and we're going to be speaking about the first home savings account. How are you today, Dustin?
Good, Krysten. How are you?
Good. So I'm really excited. This is a new savings account that's come out recently.
Yes.
Can you explain the advantages and the benefits of this savings account?
First home savings account is a great tool, a great account for first-time home buyers to be using when they're looking to get into their first home. It's a combination of the TFSA and the RSP, so we're reaping the benefits of both. In the sense with the RSP, it's tax deductible when you're putting money in, and it's completely tax-free when we're withdrawing money.
So the max amount is $8,000, right? A year.
Yeah.
Okay, per person.
Yeah.
I've had clients where there's two clients that are purchasing a house together, and they have the down payment for the house. And what they did was they took their money and they put it into the account.
Yeah,
and it hit the account, and then they were able to use that and pull it.
Exactly.
Right.
So as soon as the money hits the account, you're automatically eligible for the tax deduction, whether
Right.
you're pulling it out 2 years later or the next day.
Right.
You're reaping the benefit of the tax deduction as soon as the money hits the account itself. So
Lots of benefits with this account that you can use to your advantage when you're buying your first home. If you have two people, you're able to put away $16,000 a year to go towards your first home. So I did some math. My first time home buyers are between $350,000 and $400,000 for their first home. I want to make sure that everyone has the numbers and that it makes sense to you. We're going to go on the higher end. We're going to start, say, a $400,000 house. So your 5% is going to be $20,000. Your max year is $8,000. That brings you down to 2.5 years to be able to save up the money for 5% of a $400,000 house, which actually, like if you think long term, 2.5 years to save out to be able to have a home, it's not unrealistic.
no,
and
we're really
like that's a
crunching
really
this time frame down for people, right?
Right.
I think the biggest thing is just educating people to show them that it's completely doable. We're not thinking 10 years, 15 years out. We're crunching it down for them to make it doable in a short time frame, which is great for them.
like us buying a house now is totally different compared to when our parents bought a house.
It's night and day.
Yeah,
Completely
right.
night and
And
day, so-
millennials were like in a totally different world. Like you can't just go buy a house for $80,000
Yeah.
with how the market's changed.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's, this day and age, we definitely have to put a little more planning into these kind of things
Right.
to make sure that we're getting the most of our money. for
Right.
sure.
Yeah. And even just crunching it down and looking at if you take advantage of the $8,000 a year, what you would need is $666.66, which if you break it down to weekly, you need $166.66. So the average income is about $20 an hour. And without having overtime hours, like time and a half put in, that's working at $20 an hour, 8 and a little bit hours a week of having to work over your 40-hour work week.
I think breaking it down too and really showing people the fact that, you look at the big number of 20,000, it's kind of scary. You even look at the 666 monthly, it's kind of scary. If you break it down weekly, like 166 a week, there's, I know that's Netflix subscriptions and eating out 166 a week.
Right.
It's definitely doable if we're putting our money and our mind in the right spot. for
Right.
sure.
And I always find almost breaking down, like if you write it down and see what your income is, what your bills cost you, groceries, and you have a little money pot of what's left over, and being able to just take that 166 out a week and be able to put it away and treat it like it's a bill. That's going to get you out of renting, it's going to get you into your first home. And it's just a reality of how possible this really
Like
is.
I said, the strategy behind it needs to be there. We can't just kind of shoot from the hip and hope these kind of things happen. We need to
Right.
be strategically planning with our money and where our money's going. And I know, like we had said, with this day and age, with inflation and the cost of things and people's income, they're gradually getting further and further apart. The gap's
Right.
getting bigger. We
Yeah.
definitely need to be a little more strategic in the way we do things, but we also want to show people that it's completely doable if we're taking the right steps.
Say you go in, you have your spouse, or even you go in with a friend to purchase a house. Break it into two. So you need your $20,000. You have with your max year, 8,000, 2.5 years. Your monthly for each of you would be $333.33. And then weekly, you have $83.33, which is an average overtime of 4.25 hours.
Yeah, it's completely
a
doable,
week,
right?
right? Yeah, that's like staying, even if you just stayed an extra hour
each day.
Yeah.
Right.
Or even picking up like a half shift on a day off.
I think people have to realize too, with the account, it's labeled as a first home savings account, but depending on your timeline, we're going to be investing your money as well. So the 166 weekly is just straight cash, right?
Right.
Obviously, with a shorter timeline, we're not going to be into investments that are going to, more growth oriented. It's going to be more conservative.
Yeah.
But this is just raw numbers based on cash. This isn't with any growth or anything towards it as well. So we have to keep that in mind if the timeline is going to be a little bit longer. But yeah, these are just raw numbers based on savings, cash, no growth, that kind of thing, right? So we have to keep that into consideration as well. Like we had said, it's so hard to get into a house this day and age. But if we're doing the right things, it's definitely doable. And a big thing with the account itself that we want to keep in mind is it doesn't work like a tax-free savings account in the sense of your contribution room. So we want to keep in mind that we don't get the contribution room until it's open. So if you were to open one. If you were to open the account back in 2023, you would have $8,000 from 2023, and then it would roll over for another $8,000 in 2024. So you don't actually get the room until you actually open the account. So that's what we have to keep in mind as well, is we need to get these accounts open to start utilizing the contribution room.
Right. So say this year, say someone, they're tinkering about the fact of buying a home. They want to take advantage of this. Do they have to put the $8,000 in that year?
No, so that's a great point actually. So when you're opening the account, you're allotted the $8,000 contribution room, but you can do as small as a $25 purchase into the account just to open it.
Okay.
And then what you do from there is completely up to you. Like that is a great point, because if you're opening the account, you're allotted the contribution room right away. Mm-hmm. What you do with the contribution room is completely up to you. There is a lifetime max of $40,000. So once you've hit that max, you can't put any more money in. It's a contribution max, right? So you're not able to put any more money in. But the account can stay open for up to 15 years as well. So you're hitting that 5-year max, but you have that 15-year window to actually accumulate. And if there's any money left in the account, whether you don't use it for a home or, let's say you have the $40,000 in the account, but you only need $30,000 to purchase the home. Right. The remaining money can be rolled directly into your RSP regardless of contribution room.
Oh, wow.
So there's a couple benefits on the sense if you're not using the funds itself. Right. There are. If we're not actively seeking the information, we're not going to be provided the information. Right. So
that's like my husband Tyler. He has an account, and I know he puts money in it. And then there was me, and I'm just like, meh. Like there's just not a whole lot of anything that's gone into it. I only have it because I was working somewhere, and they were like making me, so I was like, whatever.
That's so good. I think a lot of people too think, like I was in the mindset before getting into the industry is, because we don't have a lot to invest, we're just going to wait until we do. Yeah. But the trick is that, again, time's your biggest asset. So if we're chipping away small amounts over a 10-year, 15-year period, that small amount is going to be the big amount that you needed to, or you thought you needed to start investing, right? So investing something is better than investing nothing at all. Going over the information, it's not going to cost you a dime. Not using the information could cost you a lot in the long run.
Let's go over a quick overview just so we have kind of everything that we just talked about all laid out here.
Yeah, with the account, so main things are benefits of an RSP, TFSA, so that's tax deductible going in, tax-free on the way out. There's a yearly contribution limit of $8,000, which you have to have the account open to get the contribution room. Right. A max of $40,000 lifetime, and the account can be open for 15 years. And any money that you don't use for the house or is kind of left over, we roll into your RSP for retirement assets.
Definitely reach out to Dustin, guys. We went over his details. I'll leave them at the end of the video. And if you're thinking about becoming a first-time home buyer, let's set you up for success.
For sure.
That wraps it up for this week's video. If you have any questions at all, reach out to myself or Dustin Patterson if you're thinking about becoming a first-time home buyer. You can reach us by our socials below and also leave a comment of what you thought of this week's video and if you have any topics that you'd like for me to cover next week.